Hey Apex Agents, Mobius Y here with another video for Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer. So this is part 2 on today's character build guide for the rare grade Krogan Mercenary. If you haven't seen part 1 where I go over the skill point allocation as well as the exact weapon equipment and boosters that I use in this game, then feel free to click the link in the description below to take you to part 1 where I go through the build in detail. So this game on Firebase Icebreaker against Ket. Oh, what can I say about this game? It was fun. There's no sarcasm in that statement. So I was playing with my buddy Joe the Frogman, and we got two complete noobs into our lobby. I'm not exaggerating. One of them was Apex 0 with a level 1 human infiltrator. The other one was playing like a level 12 something with an Apex rating of only about 400. So we got two complete newbies. So we kind of put on our tryhard pants and had to carry during a lot of this game. But that's really not what's important. Wave 3 it has a pretty bad hack objective that doesn't really go that great. But the rest of the mission is fairly flawless. And most importantly, you'll see me using the Krogan Mercenary to pretty good effect. I actually got a pretty big score in this game. I'm not a score person. The scoreboard doesn't mean jack shit to me. But when I pull off a score like I had in this game, I had over 33,000 points. That just makes me kind of just facepalm a little bit because it's like, wow, I was in full tryhard mode. But nonetheless, the first thing that I'll point out about the Krogan Mercenary build that I mentioned in part 1 of this video is that I did put some boosters and weapon mods on in order to increase the melee damage of this character. And you'll see me use it quite a lot, especially in the early waves, to help cut down mooks and a couple sub-bosses really easily. It does a lot of damage. It easily does more damage than a single shot from the Disciple. But as the waves go on and more sub-bosses and especially some bosses like Ascendants and Fiends start showing up in the later waves, I kind of just not only forget about using it, but I don't really utilize it as much either. Because once it gets into the later waves, something kind of falls into my mindset where is it more important to kill this guy or is it more important to kill this guy as well as regenerate a little bit of my health by shooting him with a Disciple, either once or twice. So sometimes you just got to make a bit of that decision where it's like, do I just want to flat out kill this guy sooner, or do I want to take a little bit extra time to drop this guy and just regenerate a little bit of extra health with my siphon weapon? You got to kind of make those decisions later on. It's definitely better to just flat out kill them sooner with a melee attack, but to be honest, sometimes I just flat out forget about it as later waves drag in when I play this character. So There is that, but don't forget to use your melee against appropriate enemies. You don't want to use it against something like a Fiend, but you could definitely still use it against something like a Remnant Destroyer. You can swoop in and hit it maybe once or twice, and then when it starts doing that kind of bubble shield thing that inflicts constant damage to nearby players, that's when you want to back out, wait for that to set off, and then you actually could go back in and melee it a couple more times. So don't forget about using it in this build. It actually is quite powerful, and it gets more powerful as you unlock more character cards above grade 10. So it just becomes a more useful tool to use, especially on a difficulty like Gold, where the first couple waves features a lot of mooks, and some sub-bosses start coming in by wave 2. So don't forget about that. But more importantly, you will see just how much damage that the combination of flamethrower and flat cannon can do, as well as how fun it is to just run into a group of enemies and either set them on fire or hit them with a flat cannon or both, and then just run away to the next group of enemies while the damage over time kills everybody that you just hit with your powers. That happens a couple times. Not a heck of a lot, but it does happen a couple of times, and it is pretty amusing. Because even when you're engaging a whole new group of enemies, sometimes your rage will trigger right before you start going after another group of enemies. So you get that extra damage resistance, you get that extra health regeneration, you get that extra melee damage bonus that just kicks in right as you're going to your next group. of enemies that you're trying to take on and remove from the map, basically. So it's super cool to do. A common pseudo kind of mistake that you'll see me do is a fully shielded enemy like a Destined or an Anointed. I'll start shooting the flamethrower right away. This isn't something that you want to do all the time, but with enough damage boosters, especially if you go with something like omnicapacitors for your equipment, as well as a tech power amp instead of a combat power amp, the flamethrower will do enough damage where it will de-shield a lot of sub-bosses and still have enough time left to shoot a stream of flames and set them on fire and start the burning damage on their health. So it's not really the wisest thing to do. You usually want to either shoot them with your weapon or headbutt them with a melee first, or even shoot them with a flat cannon first to take off some of those shields. Definitely shooting them, or sorry, not shooting them, definitely headbutting them or using your flat cannon will take off more shields than just shooting them 99 times out of 100. So I kind of recommend doing one of those, and then you, by all means, shoot a stream of flames into their face. The flamethrower and the flat cannon are both really good crowd control powers as well, because flat cannon has enough force to stagger pretty much any mook and de-shielded sub-bosses. You'll see both of those happen throughout this gameplay here. And flamethrower is also good for crowd control because once enemies' shields are down, particularly sub-bosses like Anointed or Destined, or any shielded sub-bosses for any other faction, they will actually have a kind of panicking, burning animation going on once they're set on fire. So you could go into a group of enemies, make sure you de-shield the 2 or 3 sub-bosses that are there, and then start shooting your flamethrower and setting 5 people on fire and just watching as they're not shooting you because they're panicking about the fact that they're on fire. Oftentimes you actually have to shoot a continuous stream at them for about a second or a second or two before they actually start doing those animations and stop shooting you. So it's sometimes not worth it, but you know, if you can just spray a flamethrower just kind of all over the place and set a bunch of people on fire, you'll see that it does happen quite a bit. And more importantly, if you've got somebody using a character that has several detonator powers, for example, Joe the Frogman's playing the Sentinel, which has both throw and energy drain to detonate his own power combos. But if he hits any of those characters that I set on fire, with those powers, it'll set off fire explosions and just do more area damage, which is always really handy. So there's the potential for that as well if you have a teammate with really good detonator powers like that. So I think that about sums it up. I've been babbling for about 8 minutes here, and the game's nearly half over. So I think I'll just stop talking and let the rest of the gameplay speak for itself. Hopefully you get a good idea of how I play not just this character, but specifically this particular build on this character. Remember, these are just build guides strictly for this particular build. You can build each character in a numerous different ways, however you see fit, whatever works for you, and whatever you want to get out of them. If you want to build this character strictly for weapon damage and completely ignore completely ignore something like flamethrower or flat cannon, and try and max out fortify so that you can get maximum weapon efficiency and damage out of it, then by all means, you know, do whatever you like. But as I said, this is strictly a guide for this exact build where I was trying to accomplish a specific mindset for this build. So hopefully you enjoy it. Try this build out for yourself. Tell me how much you like it or what's good about it, what you hate about it in the comments below. I look forward to reading them, and enjoy the rest of the gameplay. This has been Mobius Y for Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer. I'll see you on the battlefield. Good luck, Apex.
For my shields. I'm reading a flatline. Keep your guts in. Keep your guts in. down. I'm on my way. There go my SEALs. Just 3 hostiles remaining. Sensors clear for now. Great shooting. Good fight. Enemies incoming. Get moving. Ascended. Cover your hump. Squad member down. I'm coming. Cover your hump. Squad member down. Keep your guts in. I'm reading a flatline. Don't die on me.
Get to cover!
There go my SEALs. All enemies clear. Keep it up. Good fight. We detected mission-critical data. Find the location and upload the intel. Ascendant. shields. Guard inside this. Cover your house. Data transfer complete. Cover your house. I'm reading a flat line. Keep your guts in. Nearly through. I'm coming. Squad member down. I'm coming. Upload complete. Good job, Apex. Hang in there, Apex. So much for my shield. Teammate injured. Get down. Squad member down. I'm coming. 3 left. Go get him. Kill the last one. So much for my shields. Enemies cleared. Stay alert. These are broken. Send some more. Shuttle incoming. Get to the extraction zone. Teammate injured. Keep your guts in. There go my shields. There go my shields. Flatline. Ascendant, watch your hump. Squad member down. I'm on my way.